Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, and this is your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we are here live at the World Trade Center. We're going to be talking about everything that is terpenes. We are here with some awesome guests, and so let's just kind of get right into the bios here. First off is David Heldreth with True Terpene. Next up is Dr. Alison Draisin. She's representing Terpestival and CASP. And remotely, we have Kayla Hall with Cannabinder.
And also remotely is Hunter Holliman with Forefront Ventures.
And then we have Nicole Wicker of Altopa. Nicole is the CEO and founder of Altopa, maker of the Oblend. And we are at the World Trade Center. It's a little shout out to them. The World Trade Center grows trade and investment by providing direct access to the largest business network in the world with 300 offices in 99 countries. The World Trade Center Tacoma is the lone trade service for the Pacific Northwest. Their seminars, award ceremonies, and conferences can generate contacts and contracts. Trade research can clarify opportunities, and their matchmaking can turn those opportunities into trade. Personally, I get peace of mind with international purchase orders from bank guarantees and international letters of credit. I also like the e-commerce export store, which is partnered with Alibaba. It's translated to 18 languages and gives you an opportunity to put your products online and get them overseas to hard-to-reach places like Asia. All right, Nicole, terpenes are made by plants as a defense mechanism to irritate things that are irritating them. So at higher concentration levels, can terpenes be harmful to animals or humans?
First of all, I want to caveat this answer by saying I don't think anybody knows the answer to these questions. I feel like there's a lot of more scientific studies that need to be conducted. There have been some studies on insects and rats and some individuals, but the studies out there are very limited. So, for example, you hear that cannabis-derived terpenes are better than plant-derived terpenes. But you also have a lot of people that believe that plant-derived terpenes and synthetic terpenes are just as effective. We don't have any side-by-side clinical studies to prove it. It's like, let's figure out if the world is flat or round. You know, let's get on the same ground, and then we can start doing some scientific studies. So, what I've read and researched, and based on my conversations with some of the leading experts in the nation, the compounds, if you just take cannabis or a plant and you don't alter it at all, then they're safe. The safety issue comes when, and it's very common, when you're turning a flower into extract or oil. And when you extract it, you're losing a lot of the terpenes. So then you turn around and you add different terpenes in to create different strains and different aromas and different effects. If you combine certain terpenes in various ways, it alters their chemical compounds and they may have some side effects. These terpenes are so potent that if you add 50% terpenes in cannabis extract, well then, you know, that's just not what you do. The end product would be horrible. And, you know, you think about linalool and limonene, or the linalool pathogen, it's from ginger. So, yeah, you can flavor your food with some ginger and it'll be tasty, but what if you eat an entire ginger? Is that going to hurt your stomach? Yes, most likely. You know, so you have to use it sparingly, and anything in excess, I believe, is harmful.
I mean, exactly. So there's actually, for human use, there's what's called generally regarded as safe, and there's studies that have to be done to get something to be generally regarded as safe, and terpenes as a class are generally regarded as safe, but we're talking about for oral consumption, and there are still hard numbers on those compounds, like she was saying, for the amounts that can be present in a food item, because they are irritating, and there's different amounts that can, and when it comes to inhaling anything, I'm not of the mindset that inhaling cannabis is safe or necessarily not dangerous, and that cannabis, terpenes in cannabis are necessarily a safe thing to be inhaled. I do it, and I think that it has medical benefit for conditions that I have, but I'm not sold that there's not also damage being done by it. I don't think that inhaling anything is necessarily, besides oxygen, is safe. If you look at studies now, they're showing that simply drinking coffee, tea, or drinking soup at too hot of a temperature will cause cancer in your throat pretty much every time over your lifespan. And they're identifying that that is the big risk. So my belief is that inhaling anything above that gets hot enough to be vaporized is probably not a great idea. But when you're talking about consuming them orally, that's a whole other thing, and there are safety standards already identified for these compounds at those levels. So there, if you would Google generally regarded as safe study and terpenes in Google, you will find that study, and that'll give you the answer for how many terpenes you can eat safely, and also for topicals. And so I think that there is scientific data on that information already. I think it's just not something that most consumers are ever going to look at, but product manufacturers definitely should.
I'm going to jump in and throw something into this. So limonene, which is a terpene, is also a solvent. And so there are people that actually use limonene to extract cannabinoids and other terpenes from cannabis. I've had it. I am still alive. I see it as a potential use for extractions, but I'm also going to question back when you're talking about, inhaling it, how much of the limonene remains, and how toxic is it?
That's the question. Like she was saying, we need more science. Yeah. We like for oral, for eating it. Yeah, we know that. But inhaling anything, I'm not saying. My guess is that inhaling nothing is a good idea, besides oxygen. But
and the danger rises when you start delving into concentrate as well, and the solvents within concentrate, and consumers are, going a little overboard with that now. I don't know where you go from once you've really delved into that. How much higher can you get? I mean, what's in there is not ideal for us to be consuming. Whether it's a vape pen or where they're dabbing at really high temperatures on an apparatus. I'm totally with you on that.
I wrote this question with pepper in mind because in low doses it's a spice, and in high doses it's an irritant, natural irritant. Is it beta caryophyllene?
Yeah.
So that's where I was coming from with this, is that it could be something you add for spice and enjoyment, or in high doses it could be an irritant.
There are scientific studies that show, in particular, myrcene is one of them. It's involved in the LaCroix thing. Myrcene, when fed to rats over a lifetime, may or may not cause cancer. Myrcene is now a Prop 65 chemical for carcinogens in California. Granted, everything in California is a carcinogen, but there are some examples and scientific validity in saying that there is some toxicity for humans when consuming just way too much terpenes. I don't think that that's ever really going to be anything that we experience as consumers, because again, the amount that you would have to ingest for that level of toxicity is just like mind-numbing. It's like, for cannabis, you have to eat like 500 pounds of cannabis to actually start to feel, a THC toxicity. And of course, your stomach was exploded well before that. So, yes, terpene can be harmful in super high doses, but then again, many other things are extremely harmful in super high doses.
I wrote this question with pepper in mind because in low doses it's a spice, and in high doses it's an irritant, natural irritant. Is it beta caryophyllene?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's where I was coming from with this, is that it could be something you add for spice and enjoyment, or in high doses it could be an irritant.
The dose is the poison.
Mm-hmm.
Water will kill you at high enough dose.
Good point.
So I want to thank everybody for being here today, and appreciate you being on the podcast, The Talking Hedge. I'd like to thank my guest, Nicole. She's with the Oblend, or Altopa, maker of the Oblend. I'd like to thank Alison. She's representing CASP and the Terpestival. I want to thank David. He is here with True Terpenes.
I also want to thank my guest, Hunter Holliman with Forefront Ventures.
And Kayla is here representing the Canastamp and Cannabinder.
Thanks, Josh.
And we're going to wrap this up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is a Talking Hedge, your cannabis business podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't. And I'm out.